For the Love of Money, The Night Watchers, by Lovey Smitham. Chapter 6. When the money fell into Lady's lap, life was suddenly upended. In moments, fortune stood between lovely existence with Earl Lee Watson and a lavish one without him, because, not surprisingly, he wanted no part of that money, and because she determined to keep it, he wanted no part of her. She had to leave, at least go somewhere rather than Grand Saline to spend it. Their idea of a vacation was camping out, the men off fishing and the women in the kitchen cooking up the catch, or the family visiting their relatives in a different small town exactly like this one, or rather in a Sears and Roebuck catalog to shop out of. Fashion that at that time in those small East Texas towns consisted of a tweed skirt and a cardigan sweater to go on a date, or a conservative dress with a Peter Pan collar for church. While both showed her fine figure, she wanted big-town clothes. Dallas offered New York and California designs. The finer stores, such as Neiman Marcus, gave fashion shows. They served tea, even champagne. Models paraded in front of you. You were given a pencil and a form to write down the number that caught your eye. Suddenly, that model would appear before you, turning around, posturing only for you. All eyes would be upon you, visualizing you wearing the trailing mink coat she's dragging along the floor behind her. In other words, you were the center of attention for one exquisite moment in time. "Hold my champagne glass," Lady would say, taking out her checkbook. That would be pure heaven. Lady felt sure that Early would come with her if he really loved her. She would have to chance that, build upon that hope that he did love her that much, that he would come to her if she left without him. People in Grand Saline knew her finances, or lack of, as the wife of Early Watson, and would be quick to notice if she suddenly became a big spender. That is, if she could find any clothes fit for a queen or a princess such as she. Early tried his best to make her feel guilty, and she did not feel any guilt. Why should she? The money was there in her path for the taking, and she didn't steal it direct from the bank. Anyone in the same position at the same time would have picked up that discarded suitcase in the middle of the sidewalk, on a corner by itself, just sitting there, ripe for the taking. It could have been just as much old clothes, but it was not. It was a great deal of cash. Rather she than those thieves, her husband, the policeman on duty that early evening at 5 minutes after 5 o'clock, caught red-handed, who had forced the two young men up against the wall of the First State Bank. One of them had turned loose of the suitcase, or she surmised that suitcase might have been nothing to do with the robbery at all. Maybe a hobo had left it there. Running held, and finally with a gun drawn upon them, their hands in the air, it might have been filled with hobo clothes. She knew better. Hobos don't carry suitcases. Runaways do. Maybe it was a runaway that left the suitcase there, and she would look inside it. If it had a kid's name inside, she would return it. But there was no kid's name inside. She took it, like anyone else would have done, on an impulse, of course. Not quite true. She had a nose for the smell of money. She knew that suitcase was full of it, sitting outside on the pavement in the dark as Early had his gun pointed toward two young men who had their eyes not on her, but on the wall, waiting for the squealing sirens to arrive and cart them off to the jailhouse. She took the money and drove away, just as Earl Lee Watson, the night watchman, her husband, motioned her to do when he saw her pull up in the first place to the curb, unexpectedly, smack dab in the middle of the chaos. Would he have waved her away if he had seen her stick her feet out of the car, reach down for the suitcase of money and pull it into her back car seat? Floorboard? Definitely not. No, lady, that suitcase is evidence of a bank robber in progress. You can't have it. That's exactly what he would have said. He had not seen her take it. His eyes had been blinded by the headlights of the black sedan. It was raining, and it was quick. Early Watson was called Early Watson since he was a little boy. Even now that he was 37 years of age, most people still called him that. Grand Saline, his hometown. He had seen lots of things happening while he was night watchman and then policeman. Had shut his eyes to a lot of things in order to keep his job. Sometimes he felt ashamed for doing so, especially at Christmas time, when he accepted bottles of liquor tied at the top with high-dollar bills and gift certificates from major stores around town. They were not love gifts, they were bribes dressed in Christmas paper. And he knew it. He lived with it and kept quiet. He kept his job. His was an imperfect job. Watching imperfect people do imperfect things. He had seen a preacher in the moonlight with the organist. He had seen a parked car with a teacher and a student after hours where they should not have been. He'd seen a miner with a minor and some higher uppers with some lower downers. He had seen a father deliver his daughter to a doctor in the middle of the night to a darkened clinic. The next morning she was no longer pregnant. He had seen businessmen with flashlights in the basements of City Hall taking down addresses of land and buildings about to be confiscated for non-payment of taxes. They would rush back in the morning to pay them. And take possession, sometimes for only a few dollars, when the owner was temporarily down and out.